Alright, so here's your first alkane. And it's a hydrocarbon, and you can see it's a hydrocarbon because you have 4 carbons here, and you have all these hydrogens. You have 10 hydrogens, and there's nothing else. And you can see that it's a hydrocarbon because they're all single bonds. And what this is called a full structural formula. Oh, if I could spell. I still can't spell structural. There we go. And you can tell it's a full structural formula because it has everything included. Every single element's there. Every single bond is there. And again, you don't have to do this for everyone, but I just want to show you what some different things will look like. Sometimes they'll just show it like this. And what you'll see is it looks exactly the same. It's just that the hydrogens are left off. And again, there's a lot of hydrogens in organic chemistry. And it's not that they're not important. Again, it's not that we don't care about them. But sometimes they're not necessary for what we're looking for. So what this is called is this is the skeleton. Because it's basically only the major things, only the carbon skeleton. This does not mean that the hydrogens aren't there. They're still there. It just means we don't care about them. And then for some people, some people really like the shortcut. You can also draw this like that. And this is obviously the shortcut. Or you can shorthand, whatever you want to write it. With this one, an end represents a carbon, and corners represent carbons. So if you look, you have one end, that's a carbon. You have a corner, that's a carbon. Another corner, that's a carbon, and then another end. So all 3 of these things mean the exact same thing. It just depends on how you want to draw them. But again, if we want to do the steps, the first step is we have to find our longest chain of carbons. Now this one's really not hard because there is only carbons that we really care about. There's nothing hanging off of it other than hydrogen, so that we don't have to worry about that. And there's no weird things going on there. So all we have to do is find out how are we going to name 4 carbons. So what you do is you go back to that little chart. You find number 4, which is bute. And since this is an alkane, it's all single bonds, it's going to end in ane. So this is called butane. So if you've ever flicked a butane lighter, that's what this is right here. And the formula, the chemical formula, is C4H10. And I literally got that formula because I just counted everything up. I have 4 carbons, 10 hydrogens. So I could ask you any of these things about this, and you should be able to do them all. Alright, next one is another little one, and we'll do a couple little ones, and then we'll get to bigger ones that are much more complicated. You're going to find your longest chain. There's a couple of different ways you could draw the longest chain on this one. The simplest longest chain is just 3 straight across. And what you'll notice is we do have something hanging off here. We have this one little carbon hanging off, so we're going to have to deal with that. But what we're going to do first is just call what this 3 carbon chain is. So the first thing that we're going to worry about, our first step, is longest chain. And if you look up 3 carbons, it's meth, eth, prop is our prefix. And we are going to end it with A and E. So this guy is going to be called propane. Second thing we have to do is number this, because there is something hanging off of here. And you want to number it so that this guy, the guy hanging off, the guy in green, gets the lowest number. In this case, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I number from the left, I get 1, 2, 3. Or if I number from the right, I still get 1, 2, 3. So it doesn't matter which way I number this guy, he's still in the number 2. But a lot of times it will matter, and you need to make sure you do the lower side. So if we number him, this is carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3. And then the other thing we have to do is we have to say, okay, what is this? This is 1 carbon hanging off. And if you're 1 carbon, the prefix is meth, and we call you a methyl group. So what we want to do now is we put this all together in one big name. If you have more than one type of group, you actually do it alphabetically, like based off of the group, like methyl is M. But in this case, we don't have to worry about that because he's just M. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that there's a methyl first, and we need to tell them where he is. And you can see here he's hanging off the number 2 carbon, so we actually tell them that. So what we're going to write for putting it all together, full name. Here, I'll make this a little bigger. What we're going to say is we're going to say that on the number 2 carbon, so I just type 2, dash, there's a methyl. And when you write that, you're saying that on the 2 carbon of the chain, the longest chain, there's a methyl group. There's nothing else we have to worry about. There's no other things, so that's it. And then we want to put it together with the longest chain's name. So we just put this as one word. So our name, our full name for this guy is 2-methyl-propane. Propane is our longest chain. The 2-methyl is hanging off. All right, next one. So again, find your longest chain. I draw it in. Again, there's 2 different ways you could draw this one, but the biggest thing is there should be 4 carbons in your longest chain. It doesn't matter. You could have hooked this guy, and this could have been the 4. You would get the same name overall, but that's the most important thing. We do have something hanging off, so I'm going to mark that because we have to worry about him. And then now what you're going to see here is it does matter which end we number from. If I number from this end, this is my number 1 carbon, this is my number 2, 3, and 4. If I would number it from the right, this guy gets a higher number. And you want low man wins, it's like golf. So what we're going to do is this is going to be number 1 carbon, and so on and so forth, because it gives us better numbers. It gives this what we call the substituent, the guy hanging off, a lower number overall. And then we need to name this guy right here. This is 1 carbon, so he is a methyl group. And then our longest chain, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons. You look it up, the prefix is bute. Again, they're all single bonds, so this is going to be butane. And then when you put that all together, we have to do our group first. So it's a methyl group on number 2. So we write 2-methyl. And then there's nothing else. So we put it all together, and this is a butane. So our full name is 2-methyl-butane. This next one is just showing you, okay, what happens when we have more than one thing coming off. So you still find your longest chain. Again, there's a million ways you can draw this one. But the simplest one for this one's probably just straight across. 3 carbons. That means our longest chain is methylpropane. Again, you just look that up. If you look at numbering our guy, it doesn't matter which way we number it because these guys are on the number. They're stuck in the middle, basically. So we're just going to say number 1, number 2, and number 3. And then these are distinctly different things. This is something and this is something. Since they're on opposite sides, we can't think that they're the same thing. So if you give these guys name, the guy on top is a methyl, and the guy on the bottom is a methyl. And this is something that we haven't had before. Very similar, it's just slightly different. So we're going to put this all together now. And we just have to make sure that we name it appropriately. So we've been putting a number with each of our groups. This is going to continue. It's just that now that they're on the same one, it kind of looks funny. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to say that there's the methyl groups, since they're the same kind of group, are going to go together. So we're going to say on the number 2 carbon, there's a methyl. And on the number 2 carbon, there's another methyl group. And you have to put a number for each thing that's hanging off. So if like 1 methyl would have been on the number 2, and 1 methyl would have been on the number 7 or something, if it was a big carbon chain, you would have to put a 2 and a 7. And then because this is a methyl and this is a methyl. That's where your prefixes are going to come in. So what we're going to do, this guy is called as a dimethyl. So we have a 2,2-dimethyl, and then we put our propane at the end. And so then your full name here is 2,2-dimethyl propane. Sorry if it was kind of weird. I had to pause the video, but should be all good now. All right. So we'll stop here with this one. There is a couple more that are a little more complicated we're going to do, and then I promise you'll be free.